So I was procrastinating a little bit again. I was going to post this video back around Christmas time, but now it's New Year's, so Happy New Year's. And I was making a script for this video, but for the life of me, I can't, look at my script and then look at the camera and then remember what I'm supposed to be saying. So, bear with me for a moment. As a few of you may know, this has only been a couple months since I moved from Maryland to North Dakota. So, this is officially my first winter in the upper Midwest. Now, I am well aware of how cold it can get up here. And frankly, so far, it seems a bit more mild than I was expecting. Maybe I just psyched myself out a little bit more than I was expecting to. But in preparation for cold weather, I did go ahead and get myself made sure I have a proper set of winter clothing. So, I already had the jacket, already had the snow pants, but I also got a pair of goggles, couple decently strong beanies, a good new face mask, and some really, really good winter gloves. I tried a couple. The thicker ones tended to be the better ones, and then everybody was like, get Thinsulate, which Thinsulate's alright, but it doesn't really work out perfectly well in, the wind. So, either that or I got some really knockoff pair of Thinsulate, so we'll see. Other than that, I was kind of preparing my 3D printer. I think I mentioned before I moved it out of the closet because it was just hard to maneuver in the closet. So, 3D printer's out here. I made a vent to go outside so I'm not, breathing in fumes. And on top of that, I made it fully insulated, so even if it's, negative temperatures outside, it doesn't really, transfer any of the heat. Unless I want it to, because I did put a vent at the top to actually bring air in. Because the biggest thing I noticed while living in the apartment here is it is very, very well sealed. Now, I do have a little CO2 meter, and at night, it'll start beeping off if it goes about 1,500 parts per million on CO2 levels, and that's 1,500. You're starting to get bad sleep, and even if I'm just sitting in here some days, it'll just start going off just by me working on the computer, because that's how sealed the bedroom is. Now, I can just leave my door open at night, but that's kind of a little awkward for everybody, so vent. It's even got a fan built in, so I can plug in a 12-volt plug, and it'll actually give me positive airflow into the apartment, or at least into my bedroom. And honestly, it doesn't actually cool the room down that much. But yeah, I'm a big believer that having good air in a building is beneficial to everybody. And I don't know, I feel like a lot of people up here probably struggle with breathing properly, over the winter. Because, I let my younger brother borrow the CO2 meter yesterday, and it went way past 2,000 for him, just testing it one night. Also, I'm not going to lie, living in an apartment for the first time, this is a kind of nicer apartments than I would have seen in Maryland anyway, but it kind of feels like a cheat code, because, we just pay for rent and electricity, but it's plumbed in for radiant heat, and we don't pay for water, we don't pay for the heat. The garage is partially heated, so I can park my car, it's not going to get snowed on, and my roommate even gave me a heated blanket as a move-in gift, so we're kind of really, really set. I've actually had trouble keeping my room, under 65 in the apartment so far, because it actually gets really warm in this room for whatever reason. Actually, the summer was worse because I'm the furthest away from the air conditioning, and it was getting into 80s in this bedroom, but that's my only complaint about the apartment so far. But yeah, everything's starting to feel like winter. Back right before Thanksgiving, we actually had our first snowstorm, And unlike Maryland, where it will snow and then it'll just melt, and then you won't have like snow throughout the winter, when you get snow up here, it stays for a while. Like, there's been a couple days where it's thawed out, but it hasn't completely gone away. But it does point out one major thing that I was kind of ill-prepared for, and that's in my car. I did replace the rear tires of my car when we hooked it up to the trailer when we moved out here. My front tires they just weren't great. So I actually had better traction with my new bicycle than I did with my car. And honestly, the e-bike, it's amazing. The biggest downside is I haven't actually used it to go to work for like a month and a half. I really did intend to use it further into the winter season, but I've kind of just chickened out because of the sidewalks getting so icy. But yeah, I went out to Walmart. I found a pair of off-road tires that fit my car. I took them into the garage. I put it on the wheel itself. I ended up having to buy a new rim because I had one rim. I guess it was originally the spare, but it had gotten waterlogged at some point. It rusted up, and it just was bad. Before I moved, I tried to put that particular rim on one of my front tires, and it actually started scraping the brakes. And it was just straight up not safe to drive on. So I threw that in the garage, and I ordered a new one on eBay. It was actually a little harder to find than I thought because I mentioned in a previous video I had gone to a junkyard to get it, and they're like, yeah, we have that, and then they gave it to me, and it's like, oh yeah, this is not the right rim at all. So I guess for this particular model of Camry, instead of the round holes, it's like the oval holes, and that's really the big way to know that you got the right one. Other than that, I do feel like I've already like assimilated into how cold it's been getting, because it has been it's been like in the negatives, and I'm not bundling up near as much as when I did when I started like getting ready for the winter. There's been days where it's like 20 degrees outside and I'll just put on like a sweater. So I mean, obviously a hat, and you always want to be extra prepared just in case, but I mean, it just doesn't actually feel that bad unless it gets windy. I can't remember if it was sometime last week. So you can see a lot of traffic from outside my window, and we noticed there was a car that was stuck in the snow the other day. And it was like 10 p.m. I got my younger brother out. We went out, and by the time we went out, there was like five other people trying to get this guy unstuck from the snow. But it was so cold and windy that night, it was a little hard to breathe, honestly. It was the most intense cold that I think I've felt here yet. But it was only because of the wind. Like, the negative temperatures when it's not windy, it doesn't actually feel that bad. But yeah, I've got a couple projects planned this year. One of the things I didn't record is I went ahead and I got a couple... They're heat pads, 12-volt heat pads that I could rig up on my oil pan. That way, when I'm getting off of work in like days that it's negative temperatures, I can turn on the oil pan heater, wait a couple minutes, and that way it like preheats my oil. That way my car doesn't struggle starting. And honestly, the car's been great. There's only been one or two times where it's taken like an extra second to turn over. I did have to replace the alternator. The original alternator, it was only charging to like 12 volts. I have a couple videos that I recorded. I might make a video for that real quick, but it's not super important. The big thing is the alternator was getting so hot you couldn't touch it. And when I swapped out the alternator, you can tell that must have been a design flaw, because the new alternator has a built-in fan. So that's probably an improvement. Other than that, I'm getting ready for the new year. You know, all the normal stuff. I want to try to lose weight again. I've 5 months in, our apartment has a gym, and I haven't even gone down to it yet. And I want to get myself prepared because I do want to get a new job, because I've been at my current job for like 5.5 years now. And honestly, I'm not fit for retail. The expectations they have, it's like you're supposed to ignore your own morals. And honestly, I just want to help people, but it's not enough for retail nowadays. So, I mean, I'm a hard worker. I mean, I'm just not going to, like, constantly be on people about getting credit cards. It's like the biggest demoralization that these retail places have now, because yeah, it's like we're making sales goals and we're doing hard work putting stuff away, but when it comes down to it, they don't care unless we're getting like the last cent out of every customer nowadays. But yeah, I think there's a lot of manufacturing places out here, so I might be looking into some different manufacturing places, but I feel like I probably should lose a little bit of weight first and use all the vacation days I have left that I've accumulated at my current job. So that's what we're looking into this year. I have nothing else for you today, so I will see you guys in the next video.